and welcome to my demonstration. Today we're going to be using Colourific clear stamps, and it's the Xmas Stitch Friends collection. We're going to use two A5 sets, so we're using the Christmas Journey, the Naughty or Nice text, and then we've also got two A6 stamp sets, and these are Night Sky and Present Time. And we're looking to make something like this card. So I've stamped and cut out all the images, and we've done some resist technique in the background, and instead of doing a blue sky, I've gone for pinks and purples. So shall we get started? So I've changed the card size slightly, and we're going to do the resist technique in the background for the stars. So started by, I've got 3 stamps, very small stamps, and we're stamping them all together, and we're using Versamark ink and clear embossing powder. So small light taps, just get that one, it's moved. Yep, so small light taps. I've used the little duster to start with, just so we just get the ink where we want it and not on any fingerprints. And I've just got a few stamps left to do, so we'll just stamp there and ink again. And we can just see where we've stamped, so I'll put a few more there and just do an off the page one there. All right, so I'm using Honeydew Crafts clear embossing powder, and this is for heat embossing. So I always have a little sheet of paper underneath. Just tap the excess off, and then I can pop it back in the pot. Now we're going to heat emboss. You just warm up the gun slightly, and I usually heat emboss from the back. I don't know if you can see that, but we'll just do it from the front so you can see. And we're just looking for it all to go clear. There. So as you can see, I've done a few more stars on there. It's blown a bit because I did it on the front rather than the back, but you'll get the image of what we can do. So now we're going to do the resist technique with Tim Ranger's Distress Oxide inks, and I'm going to be using Tattered Rose, Tea Dye, Victorian Velvet, a little bit of Seedless Preserve, and the new one, which is Villainous Potion. So I use the little pads at the back. I keep them on with a little dot of Velcro. And I always like to use a little bit of, this is glycerin, which you can buy from the chemist. It's probably about £2 for the bottle. And I've decanted it into a small bottle, which makes it easier. So I just put a couple of drops on my glass mat and work it into the pad. and this will let us glide over the card a wee bit better. Now, there's two ways. I can either mask off the bottom, so I'm inking, but for this one, I'm just going to use a card over the top, so we can bring the inks down to the bottom. So we're starting with the lightest one, Tattered Rose, and just circular motions over the card. So I'm trying to fill all the card with a very light layer of the Tattered Rose. So the stars will not be as bright in the light colour, but when we get to the dark colour, it will certainly make them pop. Right, so that's the Tattered Rose, and I'm going to move on to a slightly darker colour, which is the tea dye. And again, just a drop of the glycerin onto the pad, and that will just allow you to move the colour. So we're just going to do around the edges, and through the middle to the top. And as you can see, some of the colours, some of the stars, sorry, are starting to pop. Just make sure you take it down far enough, just so when you get your little thing on the bottom, the colour goes into the bottom. So we're going to move on to the next colour, which is the Victorian Velvet. And then again, working it in, this is a darker colour, so we're working it round the sides. Into the middle. Trying to get a smooth, even blend. So I'm going to go back to the tea rose. Just to blend everything together. Just so that we've got no lines. Now on to the darker colour. So we're going to do, this one is Seedless Preserves, and this one is just a distress ink, not an oxide, but they do work together. So this is quite dark. So again, just over the top, down the sides, blending it all together. And for the final one, just a touch of Villainous Potion. Because this is fairly dark. Yeah, and then just back onto the Seedless Preserve, and we're just going to smooth it all together. trying to keep all your little pads together on the actual colours so that we don't get any contamination. So just a little clean up. I'm just going to flip over and change to a clean piece of paper. So you don't need to see all the dirty gubbins. Right, and I'm just going to take a dry, it would be a dry cloth, or this is a wet white that's dried out. And we're just going to rub and buff up the stars in the background, just to get them to pop. And there's your background done. So we would bring in the nice little clean white sheet there, and we're going to just do a little bit of grey there if you want to, or you could just I'm going to glitter this just to give it a little bit of definition. So the glitter that I use is Sweet Poppy, and it's the snow glitter. And I'm just going to put a little over the edges. So just a little bit of glue, working it round. Not too much, just so we can get some on the edge. I'm going to work it off slightly with my finger, and then we're going to pop on the glitter glue. Just over the edge. And that will just give a little bit of definition, a little bit of snow, just for when we cover up most of it anyway with the stamped images. Just get rid of any glitter. So here are my images, and we have used the Copic Chow markers in several colours. So for the card we will need Mr. Snowman, couple of trees, the car, some presents, and the tree. So I've coloured and cut all these images out, and I stamp and clear emboss. You can see nice clear, and that makes a little well, so hopefully the ink will not blend outwards. So let's start with the car. So to start with the car, I've used the red Copic, so it's lipstick red, and we use the brush side. So we've just got to be very careful when colouring not to go over the edges. Alright, so you don't want to watch me colour too much, because it does take time and I want you to take longer than I have. So you get the basic idea. So I've used a red for the car. I've used a yellow for the headlamps. Now we've gone into a pink, which is the blush for the grille and on the number plate. Let's just show you how to do the wheels. So I've used a black to just fill in the wheels, but I'm going to leave a little bit of gap there so I can do a little bit of shine. So we've used the black, and then we would use the grey. So I've used the cool grey and the cool grey number 3. So I'm just blending it into the black with the lighter one and then going back in to the darker one. And then just back onto the black. Then back to the cool grey number 3. And that just blends it all in and just gives you a little shine there. For the definition on the car, you see here, we've just gone in with pencils. So gone in with, these are Prismacolor warm grey, and we're just doing a little definition here just to give it a little bit of shadow and again a little bit more interest. So it's fine to go over your pens with pencils, and on here we've used the grey, so the coal grey number 3. Just fill this in quickly. And again, we're putting in just a tiny bit of definition and shading with your pencil. There we go. And then when we're finished, we will have one that looks like this. Now the snowman, we have used the grey again. So we've gone through with the cool grey, and you can either fill it all in if you want to, which we could give you this. And I've just glittered and coloured the hat, or just round the edges. So you could just do the edges, and that just gives him the definition that he's not flat, that he's slightly rounded, and he's not all white. He does have a little bit of shading. For the hat, I've coloured him probably in, let's just try this one. So this is aqua, and I've gone for the band in aqua. Give him a little bit of cool grey to give him shading down the centre and in the top of the hat, and what would be here. Gone for the black on the outsides. And then we're going for the darker grey. So just a bit more black there, I think. And the dark grey, which is the Cool Grey 3. We're just going to drag a little bit of the black in. And the lighter grey again, just to bring it all together. And down the centre, we would use a white gel pen. So I use these Uniball Signo Broad one. Just to give it a little bit of highlight. And then we would do the bow tie, the same colour as the band on the hat. Now his boots could be the same colour as this to match, or black. And the little bit of what used to be called, when you built a snowman, down the middle. I'm going for black boots. And again, the gel pen, the white gel pen, just to give a little bit of definition. Down the centre, and a little bit of gel pen on the bow tie. Now his nose we are going to do in orange to represent a carrot. And the white gel pen, just to give a little bit of definition. So that's how you would do your snowman. And then the trees, again, we've used the Copic markers and we've put some glitter on the trees, and we would use two types of green. Just bring in the one I've stamped and of course clear embossed it. As you can see, it's slightly shiny and gives you a little bit of edge so that the pens don't bleed as much. So we're going with the lighter green, which I've chosen the yellowish green. I'm going to colour that all over. Then we go in with a slightly darker green, and I've got an emerald green for this one. And using the brush edge, just going to fill it in under where the snow, and that is creating just a little bit of shadow. Go back and blend it with your paler green. A little bit more just in there with the darker green. You can see like there is a shadow, but to blend it and just give it a little bit more definition, I'm just using a brown, which this is light umber, and just going to fill in underneath the snow, and then bring in your grey pencil and it just gives definition as opposed to one without any, which would be just this one underneath. So you would fill this in just with the green. So I'm just filling it in with the light green. And that just shows you that without the darker green and the pencil, it would just look flat. And this is just giving you a little bit of definition and shading, and it just pops the snowy bit off the outside. And then I would glitter again with the Sweet Poppy Snow Glitter on the white bits. And that would bring in your trees, which would be like this. You can see the glittered, definition and coloured. And for the tree, I have just gone in on a brown with the Copic markers, just put a little bit of white gel pen, and I'm just going to give it a tiny bit of glitter, and I'm using a quickie glue pen for this one, just because we want little bits, not too much. And again, so we bring in paper to catch the glitter and just pour the glitter everywhere. And then it's just brought in, so you've got the white gel pen and some glitter on the tree. So now I'm going to make up the card. So in this one you can see we have done an A6 size card, and on this one I've gone for a square card. So we're just going to place all the components together just by gluing everything. So this is just the snow at the bottom. Just a bit of definition we're going to place on the tree, probably about there. Now I am just doing this very quickly. So we will have the car probably here, 2 trees at the other side. So one towards the back, one we will bring it a bit further forward, so we'll put the trees on first. So it's up to you how you place everything on. I'm just going to place it like this here, just firm press. I'm going to put on a sentiment. We're just going to do the sentiment here. So I'm just going to, and I'm going to emboss the sentiment. So again, just dusting it down so the embossing powder just goes where you want it to be. And the sentiment that we're going to use. Hi again, so the video cut off for some reason, so now I'm just going to stamp a sentiment here, and we're just using probably, let's see, Have a Cool Yule. So I've got Have a Cool Yule stamp, and I'm going to pop it onto my stamp. So I'm just popping it on to my stamping block, and we're going to do this one in VersaFine Claire, and it's Fallen Leaves. So I'm just inking up. I'm going to place it probably around there. Have a Cool Yule, get on the clear embossing powder. I was going to try and pop it back in the thing, but I think I need to tap it off onto a scrap piece of paper. Pop it all back into the jar, and this is Honeydew Crafts Clear Embossing Powder. So we're just going to heat emboss it. And just see those cloudy to clear back. And that will also stop the ink smudging when you touch it. So we've clear embossed it, and you can just see a nice shine on it. Just to clear the ink and anything else from the mat. So we've got the tree and the snowy trees. So we're going to pop on the car. For this one, I'm going to use a couple of pads. So we're just going to raise it slightly off the card, and I'm just going to cut down. So I don't have to use them at the full size. So we just trimmed off a little bit in half, and we're just using them. And in fact, this one, just remembered, I don't need it to the top because I'm going to put the snowman in at the top. So we're just going to use a half one further down. So just take off the backing paper. I'm going to, for me, I like to put a little bit of glue on the back, just so it gives you a little bit of fixing and moving it around if you don't get it on the right area. Just make sure none of the pads are showing. There we go. And the car would probably be about there. Just press firmly. And now in the car we would have the snowman and the present. So here we've got the snowman, would probably go about there. Or we could have him across there driving the car. And the presents at this side. So we would pop them in and just popping out just so you can see. Maybe there, underneath the snowman there, and one there. So we'll pop in the presents first. So just a little bit of glue on the back. I'm using Honeydew Crafts sticky glue, and it does exactly what it says. It is sticky. So we stick down one present. And the next one about there. And the little round present. This one, I'm just going to take a bit of the excess glue off, and I just do that like that. And we will pop him probably about there. Then Mr. Snowman, lots of glue. As much around the edges. And I'm just going to take off the excess glue. Always take it off on my hand. And pop him about there. So he's driving the car with the presents. He's on his way to somebody's house at Christmas. So that's basically the card. I'm going to just use some of the tape that I took off the back of the foam pads, a little bit of glue on the corner, and I just want to stick down the edges that are just sticking up. I just don't like the tree when it's sticking up, so just a little bit of glue, stick down all the edges. Now we're going to bring in the white gel pen again and just put a little bit of definition onto the car. So just a little bit of shine, so just a little bit on there. On the top, down the side, you might have a little bit of shine, and just there. Some on the headlight, so we would be just there. Probably a little bit here. A little bit more on the wheel. Just so it looks like where the shine is. Can do a little bit on the hat. And we've got some on the bow tie, on the presents. And now we want to do some snow. So for this I use Fluffy Stuff by Cosmic Shimmer. And then we just need to heat it and it will puff up the snow. So just little bits wherever you want it to be. Sometimes tend to do too much fluffy stuff, but I get excited and carried away with it. And now again I'm going to use the heat gun. stuff. Try not to overheat the fluffy stuff because it does tend to go brown now and again. So I've just put it over the base of the card just to give the effect of snow. Let's have a look. So we've just done this one, which was the original one, and I cut some of the tree off there, made it on a smaller card. Less stars, put the snowman to the different side, so you can mix it up. And this is the finished one that we've just done. So again, we've got stars in the background. We've used resist technique. We've stamped and cut out all the images, coloured them with Copic chow markers. We've used clear embossing powder on all the stamping just to create an edge so it to keep in the ink, trying not to spill it over the edges, and we use some fluffy stuff. Right, so I hope you're happy with what I've showed you how to do. We can turn that into different cards. So I've used the resist technique on this one. Again, here, coloured it all in inks, left what I would be the roof. On this one, we've used the sledge and the reindeer stamp. I've cut the snowman, I've cut the Santa up in half, so he's going down the chimney the wrong way, and used the lights here to decorate. Again, a little bit more fluffy stuff, and I've used Copic pens again to colour, and we've used the white gel pen to add more stars and to give accents. Hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll probably do a few more later. Thank you. Bye bye.